Hello and welcome to QUTV Game Day. I'm Tyler Menendez.
And I'm Tony Lundy.
This is the pregame show for the matchup between the Quincy University Hawks and the Lincoln University Blue Tigers. While this might be the first GLVC conference matchup for the Blue Tigers, it is not the first time these two teams have gone head-to-head. This is actually the sixth meeting between the two programs. Quincy with the winning the head-to-head battle 4-1. Those 4 wins have come consecutively for the Hawks. The most recent matchup between the two teams was back in 2018 when the Hawks won a close one, 14-13.
That's right, and now joining us for making his first head coach appearance for the Quincy University Hawks, I have Jason Kilday. Jason, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, we did say your first coaching appearance because the last one ended up being a no contest, so it does not go on record. So just learning from that first half of football with your team, what did you learn and what can help you grow with future opponents like Lincoln here today?
The first thing was I was pleased with our competitiveness and our effort. Those were 2 positives. The negatives, obviously, turning the football over twice. We got to eliminate that. But overall, for a half of football, I thought it was pretty clean. I thought we played hard, and we looked organized and competed.
And for that game, you saw some good returners on the team. But just from that game, who can we expect to make an impact this season for you guys?
I think offensively, Drake Davis and Tion Dollard for certain. Gilpin, the receiver, he's a good player for us as well. And there'll be enough role guys that spurred in there when we do. We got some young players. You know, Luke Meyer as a tight end, as a freshman, for his first competitive action up at Drake he was combative. He competed hard. He's our kind of guy.
And now last year you ran one of the most dominant offenses at Truman State, and the GLVC had many coaching opportunities open, and they were definitely yours for the taking, but what made you choose Quincy?
One, the administration, particularly with Josh Raby. His vision for what he wants out of this program sold me. And then the familiarity, having been here before, and the people coming back, and a lot of the same people are in different roles, but they're still the same people. So there's a comfortability there, and then the vision from Josh on down to everybody.
Well, thank you for joining us, Coach, and good luck to you today.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So let's take a look at the other side of the field now with head coach Moses Harper. Moses Harper will be making his first appearance as head coach for the Blue Tigers. However, this is not his first time in the GLVC either, as he was an O-line coach for William Jewell from 2019 to 2021, as well as a wide receiver coach in his previous job at Nebraska Kearney. Interesting enough, Moses Harper played professional football in the Indoor Football League for the team Wichita Wild, which is one of the most renowned indoor football leagues in the world.
That's right, and hopefully we can get Harper to be the glue for this team, as they have been on the downfall, with their last win coming back in 2019 against Northeastern State. And that year they finished 1-10. As for last season, though, they did finish 0-11 with just 11 points per game to their opponent's 53. Now they're back in the GLVC, looking to make an impact and upset some teams here like Quincy today. Many other athletes did transfer out or graduate, so a lot of their leading scorers will not be present here today. But the Blue Tigers were led last season by Adarius Ely, who had 5 receiving touchdowns, and Xavier Fawn, who threw for 10 touchdowns total.
So what do the Blue Tigers have on paper against the Hawks for this matchup today? Well, let's take a look at last season. 2023 was the first winning season for the Hawks since 2014. To put that into perspective for you guys, that's when the last NCAA college football game came out. Very fun game, Tony.
Very fun.
Anyway, the Hawks had no trouble scoring the football last season, as they averaged a very impressive 38 points per game, which led the entire GLVC, as well as clocking in 58 total touchdowns, which led the GLVC by a total of 10. Majority of these scores came from the arm of QB Drake Davis and the legs of running back JQ Brown. But while Davis may be returning, Brown is not, and those shoes are going to need to be filled.
And the question is, who is going to be filling those shoes? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, from the looks of it, as we saw last week for just one half, that one is going to be Tion Dollard. The Hawks' offense seemed to be revolved around a feed dollar concept last week. Dollard was under the radar last season, only appearing in just 8 games. But in those 8 games, he was very impactful. And it makes sense why he's getting the workload he is this season. Dollard in those 8 games rushed for 580 yards on just 77 carries total, which gave them the GLVC leading 7.5 yards per carry, which is very impressive.
Very impressive stuff. And same goes for the defensive side of the ball. Big shoes like Peyton Plunkett are going to need to be filled. But the Hawks have a lot of returners coming back, and they seem to have held their own against a very talented Drake offense last week. DB Joseph Webb is going to be a huge threat to opposing pass games this season, as well as those leadership qualities you're going to need on the defensive side of the ball. Also, linebacker Brock Inman, who led the entire GLVC in interceptions last season with 5, one of which being a pick 6. So we'll see what those guys can do today against the Blue Tigers. And earlier this week, I had a chance to talk to Brock Inman so he could reflect on last week's matchup against Drake.
Last week, I thought we played really hard. We were really physical with Drake, and we really swarmed the ball, ran the ball. And how Coach Pannone and Coach Kildare were implementing it all week and all fall camp, and it's really been paying off for us.
Going back on what you said, Tony, the Blue Tigers are going to have a long afternoon having to deal with Tion Dollard and Drake Davis in the backfield. That's a scary backfield to deal with. As for the defensive side, the Hawks are led by Joseph Webb and Brock Inman as a dangerous 1-2 combo, not just on pass coverage, but on also putting pressure on the quarterback.
I could not agree more. And as for the Blue Tigers, some of the key returners will be Jalen Thomas at the quarterback position. He played 3 games last season behind Vaughn, but he's going to be leading the Tigers today. And LaMarco Yates running the ball for them again this year. As for the defensive side, some key players were Kieron Blakemsey, who is their leading corner, who managed to have an interception last season, as well as Dante Moore, who led the team in tackles for losses. So you know that could be scary for Drake. Now here's what to expect for the Blue Tigers today. A key to their success is going to be to limit the run game for the Hawks. The Hawks have a very dominant run game. That's going to be the key today for them, and to just focus getting pressure to Drake personally. As for the offensive side, they need to have control of the game. They need to know when to chew the clock and just manage their time well. They just have to be comfortable for this game in general.
Completely agree, Tony. If Lincoln doesn't stop the run, they're going to have a very long afternoon dealing with Dollard in the backfield. But what I would like to see the Hawks do today is use that rush game to their advantage and take some shots down the field early in the first half. You know, let your veteran QB air it out a little bit, take some shots, keep Lincoln on their feet.
This is the end.
You can watch the game right here on the GLVC Sports Network in just a few minutes. But before we go, we want to check in with a quick prediction for today's game. Joining us today is Victor E. Hawk. Hey, Victor, how we doing? So now, Victor, what do you think today's outcome will be?
Victor, that is very biased, don't you think?
0.
That confident, huh?
Thank you for tuning in to QUTV Game Day here at Quincy University. For more QUTV Game Day events like this, be sure to check us out on social media and QUmedia.net.